Joining us now to break down these latest developments in the 2020 race is William Davis, a reporter for the Daily Caller. So, William, this new dropout, Julian Castro, this might have been one that people kind of saw coming, unlike Kamala Harris. I think that's the last time we talked to you when she dropped out. Julian Castro, people kind of saw coming. What's your take on his latest dropout?
Well, I think a lot of people today remembered that he was even running in the first place. I mean, he was never a major candidate, unlike Harris. People thought Harris had a shot to win. People thought Beto O'Rourke had a shot to win. But I don't think anybody really ever thought Julio Castro had a shot to win. And I think given that it was December, he probably was not raising as much money. He hadn't been on the debate stage the last few times. He was probably having trouble paying people. So it's no surprise that he dropped out. The only surprise, I guess, is that it took this long. And excuse me, early January.
Yeah, that's right. And regarding these candidates, too, the ones who are dropping out, I think it's worth noting that someone, for example, like Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang, they're not dropping out because they don't necessarily need DNC support in the future. At least that's the way that I'm looking at it. I'm looking at Kamala Harris. She still has a political future ahead of her. She's a California senator. Julian Castro still has a political future ahead of him. He wants to be involved in politics, I guess. Is that kind of the right route to be going down, do you think?
Well, I think Julian Castro would be an option, I think, for one of these candidates as potential vice president. I think that's sort of what he was running for, maybe a cabinet position. I mean, he was in President Obama's cabinet. So, you know what? I think that that was sort of the purpose of his run. It does make sense, like you said, for people like Tulsi and Yang to continue because they're probably never going to have any DNC support whenever they run. So, but for the candidates like Castro and Harris, you're right. They do need that support more in the future and do have a political future ahead. And I think both of them potentially could be leading vice presidential candidates, whoever wins the nomination.
And it is kind of interesting, too, because both Kamala Harris and Julian Castro, say Joe Biden were to get the nomination, they've both really gone after him for his comments in the past, and especially when it comes to issues of race. I mean, they've both dug into him. I mean, we remember Kamala Harris and the whole busing issue, and Julian Castro just going after him. There was a time where he said something like, you don't even know what you said a couple minutes ago. A lot of people said that might have been an ageism type of thing. So there are kind of a lot of different dimensions that are being played out here within this primary. But moving forward, too, we see that Bernie Sanders is actually, once again, he's been number 2 in the polls for most of this time. I mean, he's probably been the most consistent, maybe after Joe Biden, as far as those polls go. Do you think that Bernie Sanders is the number 2 candidate right now as far as the Democrat prospects?
I do. Right now he is, but he needs to win one of the first 2 states. I think both he and Warren desperately need to win one of the first 2 states to have a shot to win the nomination. The only person who cannot win one of the first 2 states and still win the nomination is probably Joe Biden, because he's expected to clean up in Nevada with the backing of unions, and South Carolina with the backing of minority demographics, and he's going to clean up on Super Tuesday as well. So Biden doesn't need to win either of the first 2 states, but Sanders or Warren, they need to win at least one to have a shot to win the nomination.
And speaking of Sanders and Warren, too, there's going to be a showdown at some point between these two. There has to be if they want to continue moving forward. They can't continue splitting the votes. I mean, I think Real Clear Politics has them at like 19 and 16, something like that. They need to combine those if they're going to get anywhere. And both of those candidates, too, their voters would probably go to one or the other. I mean, no one's going to go from Bernie Sanders to Pete Buttigieg or Joe Biden. Those are more moderate candidates. Those are the progressive candidates. At some point, are these two going to have to go at it?
They're either going to have to go at it or they're going to have to come to a truce, and one of them's going to have to drop out. I think you'll see after Iowa, New Hampshire, if Sanders or Warren win one of those states, the other will be, there'll be a lot of pressure on the other to drop out, and you might see some movement then. But yeah, I mean, if one of those 2 dropped out, then the other one, they would have that progressive lane cleared. So that is definitely one of the more interesting subplots of this primary. Is we're about a month away from Iowa now. Is will Warren or Sanders, will they come to a truce?
And another thing that I think is interesting, too, is the inevitable war of the moderates, if you will. I mean, Joe Biden is right there in Iowa, but it's Pete Buttigieg who is kind of surging right now. And the reason why Amy Klobuchar is sticking around, too, is that she sees a window that if maybe Joe Biden were to continue gaffing or somehow flounder his campaign, that she might be one of those moderates that kind of gets the Midwest vote. She's, of course, from Minnesota. She won't let you forget that. She brings it up all the time, that she's okay with reaching across the aisle. At some point, too, we kind of saw Pete Buttigieg get a little bit attacked in the last debate because he's the surging candidate in Iowa. Him and Klobuchar went at it. Are him, Klobuchar, and Biden going to have to go at it in the near future?
Well, I think they will. But we saw them go at it a little bit. Each of those candidates go after each other a little bit. I don't know. Klobuchar's doesn't have a reason to drop out right now because she's still raising a lot of money.
Mhm.
But I haven't really seen much movement from the polls with her, so I don't know that people are really buying into her. Maybe other than like the donor class and the media class, but I think the moderate lane is going to come down to Biden and Buttigieg. And Buttigieg is in good position in the first couple of states, but after that,
Mhm.
we'll see what he can do. I mean, he's had trouble picking up minority voters in states like South Carolina, so he needs to pick some of those voters up if he wants to have a shot to win the nomination.
Right, as we said, he's doing very well in Iowa, but New Hampshire, I think it's Bernie Sanders who is the leader right now. And then when you get to South Carolina, that's a state where Buttigieg really starts to lose steam. So it'll be interesting to see
Right.
if he even gets that far. But really quick before I let you go too, after Iowa, which is only, I think it's next month now, is that when we're going to see a lot of these candidates drop out?
I think so. I mean, there's some minor candidates like Yang and Gabbard. I don't know minor. Yang is polling pretty well, but
Yeah.
Gabbard and Yang probably will just take it all the way. But I think the other candidates, you're going to start to see them clear out. I mean, it really is a four-person race right now. If your name's not Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, or Bernie Sanders, you're not going to be the Democratic presidential nominee.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many people dying to see a Delaney or Bennett down the road, but
Yeah.
I may be wrong on that. But as we said, we got a debate coming up soon, and then we have the caucuses just next month. We'll be sure to keep tabs on you, as this will definitely pick up steam moving forward. But William Davis, thank you very much for joining us.